Prologue. Before you were born, your future did not exist. There was no success, no failure, no reputation, only possibility. But as you grew older, something invisible began to happen. People started describing who you were. You're quiet, you're talented, you're lazy, you're not confident. At first, they were only words. Over time, they became part of your identity. And without realizing it, your decisions slowly began protecting that identity. Someone who believes they always fail often stops trying before the world has a chance to judge them. Someone convinced they are not creative may never discover the ideas waiting inside them. It almost feels as though our future begins obeying the story we keep repeating about ourselves. Today, psychologists know that expectations influence attention, motivation, and behavior. The brain is not simply reacting to reality, it is constantly predicting it. And those predictions quietly shape the choices we make every single day. More than 1,000 years ago, the people of Japan practiced a tradition that seemed completely irrational. Before the harvest had arrived, they celebrated, they sang, they laughed, they thanked the gods as though the fields were already full. This tradition would later become known as Yoshuku. Many people today mistake it for manifestation. Others dismiss it as superstition. But perhaps they are asking the wrong question, because Yoshuku was never really about changing the universe. It was about changing the person who would eventually face it. This is not a story about magic. It is a story about identity, about the remarkable connection between expectation, action, and the future we slowly create without even noticing. Welcome to Book Bite. The celebration before the harvest. Imagine living in a village where your entire future depends on something you cannot control. Months of planting, months of waiting, and then a single storm could destroy everything. For centuries, this was the reality for farmers across Japan. Their survival depended on the harvest. Yet, something extraordinary happened every year. Before the crops were ready, before anyone knew whether the season would be successful, the village gathered to celebrate. They shared food. They danced, they laughed, they expressed gratitude as if the harvest had already arrived. To an outsider, it seemed irrational. Why celebrate something that had not happened? The answer reveals one of the oldest insights into human psychology. The celebration was never meant to change the weather. It was meant to change the people. Because fear changes the way we behave. When we believe failure is waiting for us, our attention narrows. We become cautious, hesitant. Every setback feels like proof that we should stop. But gratitude creates a very different state of mind. It reminds us that the future is still worth working toward. Modern psychology describes something surprisingly similar. It is called the self-fulfilling prophecy. Our expectations quietly influence our actions. Someone who believes improvement is possible usually practices longer, recovers faster after failure, and notices opportunities that someone trapped by doubt might completely ignore. The future has not changed, their behavior has. Perhaps this is why the harvest festivals survived for generations. It was not a ritual for controlling nature, it was a ritual for protecting hope. Because the people who continue planting, continue learning, and continue believing their efforts matter are far more likely to be standing in the field when the harvest finally arrives. This ancient tradition would later become known as Yoshuku. Not the art of pretending success already exists, but the discipline of becoming the kind of person who refuses to let uncertainty decide who they are. The future your brain is already building. Every morning, before you make a single conscious decision, your brain has already begun making predictions. What kind of day this will be, how people will respond to you, whether your efforts are worth making, whether you are likely to succeed or fail. It does this so quickly that most of us never notice it happening. For a long time, scientists believed the brain worked like a camera. First it received information, then it interpreted reality. Today, many neuroscientists believe the opposite is often closer to the truth. The brain is constantly predicting reality and then comparing those predictions with what actually happens. This idea is known as predictive processing. It means we do not simply see the world as it is. We often see the world through the expectations we already carry. Imagine two people walking into the same room for a job interview. One quietly believes, "I probably don't belong here." The other thinks, "I've prepared for this, let's see what happens." The questions are identical, the room is identical, the interviewers are identical, but their brains are not experiencing the same reality. One notices every mistake, the other notices every opportunity. Expectation quietly changes attention, and attention changes behavior. This is where Yoshuku begins to feel surprisingly modern. The ancient farmers were not trying to predict a successful harvest. They were training their minds not to become prisoners of uncertainty. Because the person who expects possibility continues showing up, continues learning, continues planting seeds long after someone else has given up. This does not guarantee success. Life has never offered guarantees. Storms still come, failures still happen. But there is an important difference between preparing for difficulty and expecting defeat. One makes you stronger, the other convinces you to stop before the journey has truly begun. Perhaps the future is not created in a single extraordinary moment. Perhaps it is quietly built every morning by the expectations we carry into the ordinary moments no one else ever sees. The story you keep proving true. There is an invisible conversation happening inside every human mind. It is quiet, constant, and incredibly powerful. It sounds like this: "I'm not good at speaking. People like me never succeed. I always ruin opportunities." Most of us never question these sentences because they don't feel like opinions, they feel like facts. But where did they come from? Often, they were built from a handful of moments. One embarrassing presentation, one failed exam, one rejection, one careless comment from someone we trusted. The brain connected those moments together and slowly turned them into an identity. Psychologists call this self-schema, a mental model of who we believe we are. Once that model is formed, the brain begins protecting it. If you believe you're bad at public speaking, you'll probably avoid speaking. Because you avoid speaking, you never improve. And because you never improve, the belief feels true. The cycle repeats. Not because the belief was correct, but because your behavior kept giving it evidence. This is known as the identity loop. Belief shapes action. Action produces results. Results strengthen belief. The loop grows stronger every year. This is why changing habits is often so difficult. Most people try to change their actions without changing the identity producing those actions. They say, "I want to exercise," instead of, "I'm becoming someone who takes care of my body." They say, "I want to write," instead of, "I'm becoming a writer." The behavior changes for a few days. The identity pulls them back. Perhaps this is what Yoshuku understood long before modern psychology. Celebrating the harvest before it arrived was never about denying reality. It was about rehearsing a new identity. Not, "We hope abundance comes," but "We are people who continue working with gratitude even while the outcome is uncertain." Because every future is first lived twice, once inside the mind and only later in the world. The question is not whether you're telling yourself a story. Everyone is. The real question is that story building the future you want, or quietly protecting the past you've already outgrown? What manifestation gets wrong? Somewhere along the way, the meaning of Yoshuku began to change. A philosophy that once encouraged courage was slowly transformed into a promise. People were told, if you think positively enough, the universe will reward you. If you imagine success clearly enough, it will eventually arrive. For millions of people, this idea was comforting. But there was one problem. The evidence never fully supported it. Modern psychology has spent decades studying visualization. The results are fascinating, but they are also very different from what most people believe. Researchers discovered that simply imagining the final reward, standing on the podium, holding the trophy, becoming successful, can sometimes reduce motivation instead of increasing it. Why? Because the brain experiences a small sense of satisfaction without doing the difficult work required to earn it. The destination feels emotionally closer, while the effort remains exactly the same. But another type of visualization produces a very different result. Instead of imagining only success, people imagine the process, waking up early, practicing every day, facing rejection, making mistakes, continuing anyway. This is called process visualization. Study after study suggests it improves persistence far more consistently than simply fantasizing about the outcome. Perhaps this is where Yoshuku has often been misunderstood. The ancient farmers did not celebrate and then stop planting. They celebrated and returned to the fields the very next morning. Their gratitude never replaced effort, it strengthened it. That is the difference. Hope without action becomes fantasy. Action without hope becomes exhaustion. Yoshuku quietly asks for both. Believe that tomorrow is worth building, then build it. Because the future has never belonged to those who simply wished for it. It has always belonged to those who were willing to become, little by little, the person capable of creating it. Perhaps the real miracle was never that the harvest eventually came. Perhaps the miracle was that the celebration gave ordinary people the strength to keep working until it did. The chemistry of believing. If hope cannot magically change reality, then why does it change people? The answer may lie inside one of the most misunderstood chemicals in the human brain: dopamine. Most people think dopamine is the chemical of pleasure, but neuroscientists now know its role is far more interesting. Dopamine is deeply connected to anticipation. It rises not only when we receive a reward, but when the brain believes a meaningful reward is possible. It is one of the reasons we continue moving toward difficult goals, not because success is guaranteed, but because the possibility of success still feels alive. Imagine climbing a mountain. If someone tells you there is absolutely no chance of reaching the top, your body may still be capable of climbing, but your motivation begins to disappear. Nothing about your muscles has changed. What changed was your expectation. The brain constantly asks a simple question: is this effort worth continuing? When the answer becomes no, motivation quietly fades. This is why hopelessness is so dangerous. It doesn't only affect emotions, it affects behavior. Effort becomes smaller. Practice becomes inconsistent. Opportunities are ignored. The future slowly begins matching the expectation. This is where Yoshuku reveals its quiet wisdom. Celebrating before the harvest was never about pretending the work was finished. It was about protecting the belief that the work still mattered. Because the moment people stop believing their actions can influence tomorrow, they often stop acting today. Modern researchers studying resilience have noticed something similar. People who maintain a realistic sense of future possibility, even during hardship, are more likely to recover after failure. Not because life treats them differently, but because they continue engaging with life when others withdraw from it. Perhaps hope is not a reward for seeing the future. Perhaps it is the energy that allows us to keep building one. And maybe the greatest gift Yoshuku offers is not the promise that everything will work out. It is the courage to keep taking the next step before the outcome has revealed itself. Living as your future self. Imagine meeting two people with the exact same dream. Both want to become writers. Both have similar talent. Both begin on the same day. The first person wakes up each morning asking, "What do I need to do to become a writer?" The second asks, "What would a writer do today?" The questions sound almost identical, but they create completely different lives. The first person is chasing an identity. The second is already practicing one. This small difference has fascinated psychologists for decades. Research suggests that lasting change becomes easier when our actions are connected to identity rather than temporary motivation. Motivation rises and falls. Identity stays. Someone who says, "I'm trying to quit smoking," is fighting a habit. Someone who says, "I'm not a smoker anymore," is protecting an identity. The same action, a completely different relationship with it. Perhaps this is why lasting transformation rarely happens in a single dramatic moment. It happens through ordinary decisions repeated until they begin to feel natural. Reading one chapter, writing one page, making one difficult phone call, waking up when no one is watching. None of these moments seem extraordinary, yet together they quietly become a different life. This is where Yoshuku becomes deeply practical. Celebrating before the harvest was not permission to stop working. It was a reminder to begin living with the character required for the harvest long before it appeared. Gratitude became practice. Discipline became identity. Patience became a daily habit. Perhaps the future is not waiting somewhere ahead of us. Perhaps small pieces of it are already appearing every time our actions become consistent with the person we hope to become. Because one day, people may call your success an overnight transformation. They will never see the thousands of ordinary mornings when your future was quietly taking shape long before anyone else believed it existed.
The future is built in ordinary days. When people look back at extraordinary lives, they usually notice the milestones, the promotion, the award, the successful business, the finished book. What they rarely see are the thousands of ordinary days that made those moments possible. History has a habit of remembering outcomes. Life is lived through routines. There is a quiet illusion that one great decision changes everything. In reality, our future is more often shaped by hundreds of small decisions that seem too ordinary to matter. Choosing to study for another hour, choosing to apologize, choosing to exercise, choosing to begin again after failure. Each decision feels almost insignificant, but the brain does not record them individually. It records the pattern they create. Over time, that pattern becomes identity, and identity begins producing a future that appears almost inevitable. Behavioral scientists sometimes describe this as the power of compounding habits. Small actions repeated consistently create results that seem impossible when viewed one day at a time. The same principle works in the opposite direction. Small excuses repeated every day also compound, not dramatically, quietly. One missed opportunity, one postponed conversation, one abandoned promise to yourself. None of them destroy a future, but together they slowly shape one. Perhaps this is why Yoshuku never focused on one grand celebration. The celebration was only the beginning. What truly mattered was returning to the field the next morning, and the morning after that, and the morning after that. Because no harvest has ever appeared from one day of work. It grows through ordinary days that no one applauds. Perhaps the life you dream about is not waiting behind one extraordinary breakthrough. Perhaps it is already being built inside the quiet decisions you make when no one is watching. And maybe those invisible moments have always been the real architects of destiny. The person you become. There is an old saying that people overestimate what they can achieve in a year and underestimate what they can become in 10. Perhaps that is because we spend so much time measuring results that we forget to notice transformation. A tree does not become strong the day it bears fruit. It becomes strong through years of invisible growth beneath the ground. Human beings are not so different. The strongest confidence is rarely built by one great success. It is built by keeping promises to yourself, especially when no one else knows you made them. Every difficult conversation you choose to have. Every morning you choose discipline over comfort. Every time you continue after disappointment, you are doing more than completing a task. You are quietly casting a vote for the person you are becoming. This is something psychology has repeatedly observed. Lasting self-confidence is rarely created by positive affirmations alone. It grows from evidence. Your brain begins trusting you when your actions repeatedly prove that your words can be believed. Confidence is not something you find, it is something you earn from yourself. Perhaps this is the deepest lesson hidden inside Yoshuku. The celebration before the harvest was never a prediction, it was a declaration of character. It said, regardless of what happens, we will continue planting, we will continue showing up, we will continue becoming the kind of people who do not let uncertainty decide our effort. Life will never remove uncertainty. There will always be failures you cannot prevent, losses you cannot explain, dreams that arrive later than expected. But there is one thing uncertainty can never control, the kind of person you choose to become while walking through it. Perhaps your future has never been asking one question, not what do you want, but who are you becoming one ordinary day at a time? Because in the end, our destiny is rarely built by a single extraordinary moment. It is built by the person we quietly become before the world finally notices.